Man, it's time for 30 books in 30 weeks. Happy Monday to everyone. As you know, if you've been following 30 books in 30 weeks, Mondays is when I introduce the new book of the week. We are in week 12, and this week's book is called Love is a Choice. And I titled this video A Moment of Vulnerability because I'm going to, in a few minutes, share a personal moment of vulnerability with you guys and show you how the universe always operates in your best interest. It always gives you just what you need at just the right moment to send the right message to the right person who needs to hear it. So please share this video out. The subject I'm going to talk about is something that impacts a lot of women, a lot of men, a lot of relationships. Hey, Gregory. And hopefully by me sharing my moment of vulnerability with you guys, you'll be able to, someone else will be healed by this conversation. Someone else will get maybe some clarity out of this conversation. So as you come in, like I said, feel free to share the video out, ask some others to join us. If you catch it on the replay, still share this out. I'm going to share with you a very personal experience that I've had in the past couple days, and I'm going to tie that back into this book and why I had started to choose this book earlier in the year and I didn't, and I never really knew why I didn't pick this book then. But now it came clear to me after the experience that I just had, why I chose to hold Love is a Choice until just the right moment, and today's the right moment. So welcome to week 12. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marcy Batiste. I'm a public speaker, I'm an author, and I'm a reality-based success and recovery trainer. I live life on Mars. I'm sold out to my happiness. The favorite thing in the whole wide world is to help other women shine. So in sharing my moment of vulnerability with you all, hopefully that will be a spark to ignite the light for someone else. In addition to my coaching business, or in addition to my speaking and my authoring, I have a training company called Bankable Success Advisors, and we work with businesses and individuals to help them optimize their investments, personal time, energy, emotion, human capital, you name it, and we cure emotional bankruptcy, which is why this book, Love is a Choice. And like I said, I started to pick this book several weeks ago. Hey, Gillette. Hey, Philip, Eric, Scott, what's going on? Started to pick this book several weeks ago, and I didn't for whatever reason. I don't remember, but I ended up picking something else. And so here goes my vulnerable moment. Okay, I was talking to one of my personal board of directors, one of my besties, a little while ago about a situation that I experienced yesterday, actually. And so those of you who know me know that I am a domestic violence champion. I went through domestic violence in its physical form in April of 2012, so it's almost 6 years ago. I did a lot of healing work, and that was the spark to ignite my new business, or my business, and launch my speaking and my coaching and my writing in order to help other people heal. And you know, a lot of times as a coach, as the trainer, as the leader, people have a certain set of expectations of you, right? As you begin to do healing work, you create a certain set of expectations for yourself. And sometimes those expectations can be unrealistic, right? Sometimes those expectations in building out the business, you forget that you're human. You forget that you're a person. In my case, you forget that you're a woman with natural feelings and emotions. So I say all that to say I'm going to share with you a situation that happened relating to my domestic violence experience back in 2012, and how even when you've done the work, and this is why I want you guys to share this video out, because I think a lot of us fall into this trap where we think, oh, we've done our work, so we're good. We don't need to keep working on ourselves. We don't need to continue with the personal development. I'm a personal development trainer. That's what I do. So I understand, I understand the value in it, right? But no matter how much work you've done, I want people to understand there's always room for improvement, because there comes these moments where you'll be challenged, and something will happen that you think, I overcame that. I passed that. I let that go with my last relationship. I'm not going to fall into that trap ever again. And then something will happen. It might be a trigger. Visiting a childhood home. I was talking to a potential client yesterday about that. She found some triggers that led her back to potentially reaching out to someone who was abusive to her. After I got off the phone with that woman, I opened up Facebook and I saw a picture of my ex who committed the physical abuse against me in 2012. We have mutual friends, so it's not that surprising. I'm not angry with him. I'm not, I did my work, right? I'm a domestic violence champion. I teach others how to heal and recover. What I was surprised about was the amount of emotion that was still present 6 years later. And the reason why I want to share this, my vulnerability, because I've done the work. So I'm strong, I'm healed, I teach others these strategies, these methodologies. And so for a moment, I had some vulnerability toward him. So I saw the picture. I still had some sort of an attraction to this individual. And I share that with you because that happens to a lot of people. It's not an uncommon occurrence where someone will reappear from your past who meant you no good, who was not good for your soul, who was not good for your spirit. And if you haven't done the work, even me, having done the work, I teach people how to recover. I still had this moment. And for me, it was a moment. It was a flash. It was a kind of thing where I was like, oh. And then I had to process that overnight to say, that was a vulnerable, like I had to put a label on it. I had to identify that. That was a vulnerable moment that I had. But I share my vulnerable moment with you all to say, for those of you who haven't done the work and those vulnerable opportunities pop up, those vulnerable experiences pop up, if you don't have the tools in your toolbox to say no, I just want you to know I get why women go back. I understand it. I've always understood it. I understood it from the day that I walked into a domestic abuse survivors group and couldn't even speak my own name. I get it. Told you this is a very vulnerable moment. I get it, and my heart breaks for you because I know how hard the work is. I know how hard the work is. But I also know the dangers of not doing the work, you guys. I know the dangers because, like I said, I train this. I teach these strategies. And so for me, it was a moment. It was a catch me off guard, take my breath away kind of thing. But if you don't have the tools in your toolbox to snap yourself back out of it, you can find yourself right back where you began so easily. And so it was interesting to me how, like I said, the universe brings everything full circle for you. And so I arrived, when I was picking out the book for this week, I came across Love is a Choice. The subtitle is The Definitive Book of Letting Go of Unhealthy Relationships. How appropriate that is that I would have this conversation with a prospective client where she's sharing her vulnerabilities that she found by traveling back to her childhood home. She was already feeling emotional. Her mom's about to die. And she found herself reaching out to someone who had been emotionally and psychologically abusive to her. as a way as she described it, to find some familiarity. She just wanted everything looked different. Her childhood home had been torn down. The street wasn't tree lined anymore. It was filled with new construction. The high school didn't look the same. Much of the people that she'd known from her whole entire life were gone. The one place of familiarity was this unhealthy relationship, this man who was abusive to her. And she said she caught herself preparing to write him a note and go and leave it on his office door so that he could reach out to her and contact her, because she needed that familiarity. And she said that her brother called her and stopped her midstream. He said, "Hey, what are you doing? You know, where are you going? What you up to?" And she told him, and he was like, "No, don't do that. You know that's not for you. You know that's not for you." And so when we were talking about her taking on becoming a client for reality-based recovery, I said to her, I said, "You know, you do know how that story ends, but it doesn't make it any harder. It doesn't make it any easier to not pick the book up again." And think about that. You know how the story ends, but we'll still continue to reread the same story over and over. Think about a little kid watching cartoons and how many times they'll push the same cartoon on repeat over and over and over and over. As a parent, you're like, "Damn, turn it off. I'm tired of seeing," I don't know what the new cartoons are. When my kids were little, it was like stupid stuff like Barney and Teletubbies, but you just like turn it off. As an adult, telling a child watching a cartoon to turn it off, it seems easy to do, and then the kids have this temper tantrum and they're like, "No, I want to see it." And you're like, "I saw it 100 times. You've already seen it 100 times. You don't need to watch it anymore." What's going on, Kerwin? It's not that easy when it's your life. It's not that easy to just turn it off when it's about a relationship with someone who you loved very much and who you thought loved you, and you had to go through the process to realize it wasn't love, it was control, it was power, it was a whole lot of things, but at no point, at no time was it really truly love, and you have to come to a place of reconciliation with that. But you do find yourself in those moments of vulnerability where it's pretty easy to pick the book back up because you want so badly for it to have a different ending. And when I ask you guys to share this video out, it's not for me. This message is for someone else. These things didn't just happen over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours. Actually, within the last, it hasn't even been 24 hours. It didn't all just happen at one time for no reason. Someone needs to hear that it's okay to not pick the book up again. It's okay to not go back down that path when you know how the story ends, because what I can promise you, and the thing that, even though it gave me the when I saw his picture and I thought for a moment I'm still attracted to him, I still find him physically appealing, was I know how the story ends. I don't want to read that book anymore. That's a choice I'm not going to make. But here's the kicker. I have the tools in my toolbox. It's muscle memory for me to turn away from that. Someone needs to hear that you have to go through the process. You have to do the work in order to be strong enough when that moment comes when he or she pops up again out of nowhere and you think, "Oh, like we've been done for forever. I'm over that. I've put that aside. I've let it alone." But yet they pop back up and suddenly you're vulnerable again. Suddenly you're open. Suddenly you get that and it takes your breath away, and you want so badly to catch your breath back, and so you think, "Well, let me just try it one more time. Let me just see. Let me see what let me see what they're talking about," right? That's what we tell ourselves. Let me see what they're talking about. They talk about much of the same stuff. Because similar to you, they probably haven't done a lot of work. And so they're still in that same place, in that same space. And that was what I realized when I looked at the picture of my abuser. And then it dawned on me when I was talking to, I shared with you guys, I was talking to one of my board of directors, my personal board of directors. And I shared with her that I had come up with a book title years ago that I still love. It was called "I Still Love My Abuser." And I didn't understand where that came from then, but again, in less than 24 hours, you guys, all of this stuff has taken place and it has been stirred up. And so I'm sharing my vulnerability, my transparency out of love for someone else. I'm sharing this out of love for someone I don't even probably know. And maybe I do know you, and maybe you just haven't shared with me that, hey, Mars, I'm going through something. But I have to be willing to put it out there so that someone else can see. Hey, Kathy, someone else can see that it's okay. It's okay to have that. It took my breath away. It caught me off guard. I felt vulnerable. I felt like I want to go back in. I felt like I wanted to give them another shot. I felt like I wanted to hear what they're talking about now. They're talking about the same crap they was talking about before, and they still don't mean your soul no good. You know how the story ends. It's okay not to pick the book back up. It's okay for you to choose that you're done with the relationship. What happens a lot of times is that thanks for the love, Gillette. What happens a lot of times is relationships end, and you may not be the person who ended it. It may not have been what you wanted. You may have wanted to continue the relationship despite how toxic it may have been. But for whatever reason, the relationship ends. You don't find you got enough closure, or you still have a little something feelings for that person. Let me see what they're talking about. And so you open the door back up thinking that you can close it again. And it's not always that easy to close it once you open it. It's kind of like Pandora's box. You just don't know what's behind that door. You don't know what that individual's intentions are. And so the work that I do, and why I'm so passionate about helping women through the recovery process, helping them heal from traumatic experiences and bad relationships so that they can achieve the results they want, is so that you don't open that door again. Because you want to pick up where you left off, or continue a conversation, or find the closure. That's not what they're calling about. That's not what they're calling to talk to you about. They're calling to see if there's still an opening. They're calling to see if, can I still get in? Can I still manipulate? Can I still? Even if they say, I'm sorry, are they really? Are you strong enough to know a real sorry from a fake sorry? Because to me, sorry doesn't really mean anything. Sorry, you might be sorry you got caught. You might be sorry that it ended. You might be sorry that it didn't work out, but you're not sorry for your behavior if you knew at the time that you were conducting the behavior that it was wrong. You're not really sorry. That's my take on sorries. But again, rating my personal development library in this moment and seeing this book, Love is a Choice. Love is a choice. This was one of the books that I turned to when I knew that I could never, ever, ever go back to that relationship ever again. When I finally got out of the house that day and broke free, I never saw him again until last night when I saw that picture. It caught me off guard, took my breath away for a moment. But because I had been practicing for 6 years, the build-up to be able to resist, to even resist the urge to click like on the photograph. What would that have proven? To whom? Why would I feel like I have to prove anything? I'm a domestic violence champion. I help other people heal and recover. I don't have to prove shit to him or anyone else. And sometimes we open the door and we pick the book back up because we want to prove something to someone else. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to your soul. It's not worth it for your heart. It's not worth it for your heartbreak. So if you find yourself going back and forth with a toxic relationship in an unhealthy situation, that means you know good that it's not good for your soul. It's okay. I'm giving you permission to not pick that book back up. I'm giving you permission to accept how the story ended is how the story ended. And if you didn't like the ending, that's too bad. Let it go. Let it go. But you don't have to prove anything. You're not obligated to answer that phone if it rings. You're not obligated to read the story. You're not obligated to have the conversation. You're not obligated for any of that. You're obligated to yourself. Choose you first. Love is a choice. But you get to choose to love you more than you love that person that did not serve you well in the past. The story more than likely won't end any different. So don't pick the book up. Leave that book alone. Pick this one up instead. Love is a choice. It's going to be the subject that we talk about for this week. We're in week 12 of 30 books in 30 weeks. We're gearing up to start session 2 of Raising the Bar, 60 Days Laser Coaching. And I encourage you, if you're someone who just kind of doesn't really know how to get through this healing process, if you're like the lady who was in California ready to go put a note on someone's door who she knew was not good for her, reach out to me. Inbox me. It's open 24 hours. Let me know. Let's talk. If you want to sign up for the program, I can show you how. But don't let that moment of vulnerability knock you off your square. It's not worth it. There are resources. Hey Scott, how are you, sweetheart? There are resources out there. There's people out there. I'm there. Reach out to someone. Let someone know, hey, I feel vulnerable. And it's okay. And I've said vulnerable probably 700 times in this video. And I'm going to say vulnerable 700 more to let you know that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have that sensitive transparency, that it's okay to admit weakness. It's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. But that's why there are people out there that are prepared to help you, such as myself. I have a terrific circle of other coaches, depending on what your situation is. If it's not something that I specialize in, I stay in my own lane, but I do not have a problem handing you another resource. Curing emotional bankruptcy is what I specialize in. If I was still emotionally bankrupt when I saw that picture, I would have clicked like on it. I would have inboxed my girl and been like, tell so-and-so I said hey. But I didn't, because I did my work. So that's the message. Y'all stay tuned this week. Love is a choice. That's the subject we're going to talk about. How to let go of unhealthy, toxic relationships. The ones that are no good for your soul. All right. In the meantime and in between time, guys, I thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I thank you for joining in. I thank you more than anything for sharing the video out. And as always, for living life on Mars. I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Have a good day.